It's still okay. Good. We're recording. I apologize. Can we maybe take it back from MULE? Okay,
Yeah.
thanks. Which stands
Um,
for? We'll start for where it stands for. Okay,
yeah, yeah,
thank you.
yeah. Yeah, so one of our core products, or our core products, are the is the MULE, Material Unit Lift Enhancer, is what the MULE acronym stands for. And the whole technology there, or the concept, is that we can make materials weightless. So we can take today our two main products, the ML150, the MZ100. They can handle 100 pounds for the MZ100, up to about 200 pounds on the other product, and so we can make anything that, in that weight range weightless, which the exciting part is now you can interact with the product. So think of a big heavy block. When you pick the block with the MULE, it automatically weighs it and floats it. So now when the mason interacts with it, they don't need to learn complicated controls. They literally click a button and the machine does the rest. And they can interact with it just by picking that block. And when they come up over rebar, or you move it from point A to point B, it just floats naturally. So it takes their job and makes it very easy. The product's very easy to learn, very easy to interact with. And so that's really our core mission in our technology, is to bring this type of technology that's easy for the trades to learn, easy to adapt on job sites, makes the job safer, and can help the teams increase productivity, speed, reduce schedules, and things like that. So that's really what we're about, saving backs, saving bodies, and making people's lives a little bit better and building smarter.
Wow. What sparked the idea to develop robotic solutions for masonry specifically? Was there like a moment or a project that convinced you that it wasn't only possible but necessary?
Yeah, so our history goes back quite a ways. I think that some of the seeds of construction robotics were back in 2007, 8. My co-founder Nate Podkaminer was a construction industry veteran. Spent his whole career building buildings in central New York, with a large general contracting company, and kind of grew up in the industry and saw firsthand the toll it could take on your body. Saw the challenges with labor, and I think just really the overall industry, the struggles that it had around productivity and injuries and stuff. So, and I come from the manufacturing background, so I spent a lot of times in manufacturing facilities, high volume manufacturing companies like Intel, General Motors, things like that. And so kind of started to get into the robotics world and understanding what we could do in the manufacturing world with robotics and advanced manufacturing techniques. And I think that when we kind of came together, we looked at how we could bring a lot of the concepts that were already being deployed in manufacturing spaces into the construction industry to help improve safety, help improve productivity. And so the first area we actually looked at was using robots to install bricks. So one of the first products we actually launched back in 2014-15 was a product called SAM, which was a bricklaying robot. And we had a number of SAMs out there, laid millions of bricks around the country, and actually deployed these robots on job sites where we would pick, SAM, the robot, would pick the brick, apply the mortar, put it in the wall, and work alongside the masons. And we taught a number of masonry crews to work with this machine, and they did a phenomenal job, and we had some really incredible results. But in that process, we learned a few things about the level of sophistication and technology, and how it interacts with the trades and how it interacts with job sites, right?
Yeah.
Job sites are really dynamic places. A lot of different materials flowing into the job. Every day is a new challenge with the weather, with who shows up, with materials being delivered or not being delivered, with changes in schedule. It's so much more dynamic than you could ever imagine compared to like a manufacturing setting. So even though we had a ton of successes with SAM, as we started to understand the trades and work closely with the masonry industry and work closely with the people in the field, I think we recognized that there was a whole lot of other problems that existed around injuries and just the pain of lifting these heavy materials all day long. And so we looked at the MULE so we really started development of the MULE and looked at that as a way to help address the biggest pain point, which was kind of the labor, the injury portion, the health and safety, and with the added benefit that we could get productivity gains. So we shifted technology, launched the MULE in 2018-19, and really, believe that that's a perfect stepping stone to what will eventually be more automated job sites.
Yeah.
But for us, this idea of kind of this assistive technology that can seamlessly integrate, you're not really changing your crew size that's on a job site. You're applying this technology to make everyone feel better, make everyone safer, extend careers, attract new people in the industry, and then ultimately, I think get more productivity, which is really reduce schedules and get more productivity, which is really, I think, the big win.
end
So,
game.
yeah, it's been an evolution. It's been a really interesting evolution going from SAM and really complex technology and robotics and the brick lane and now transition to the MULE and the smart lifting.
Yeah.
So really excited about where we're at in the space and see a lot of exciting things coming out in the industry as a whole.
For sure. Do you remember the first time you saw MULE in action? Like what went through your mind seeing it work in real time?
Yeah, no, it was exciting. I remember one of the first job sites we were on with a MULE, and all these kind of key moments in the history of the company are anchored in my mind. But I think the first job site we were on with the MULE, we were out there and it was our prototype product, and so it was kind of rough together and a little bit ugly. But the masons were trying it out, and I remember standing there with a mason who was probably in his 60s and had spent his whole career laying block, and he was pretty hunched over. Had kind of a bad back, and he was laying with this thing, and he laid with it after a couple hours, got used to it, really liked it, and kind of came up to us, and he was like, where was this 30 years ago? He's like, because I spent my whole career beating my body up, and this thing is just amazing. He's like, I'm laying block like I'm 20 years old again. So, I think that at that point we knew that we were starting to strike a chord that made a lot of sense.
Absolutely. We think of masonry as such a tactile, legacy-driven trade. Were there any challenges convincing, veteran bricklayers to trust robotics on their job sites?
Yeah, there has been. I think there probably will be for some time. It's an industry. Construction as a whole is an industry that I think is slower to change. In masonry in particular, it's a very hands-on trade. A lot of generational, people are in it, and one generation and the next, and they like to do it the way that they were taught. And so it takes a little while to get those changes through people's minds. But at the same time, I think what's been interesting is when you go out to a job site, some of the older masons that have experienced the shoulder injuries or the back injuries, even though they maybe are more resistant to technology, once we show them the technology and we realize, that they realize that it's really not scary, right? It's very simple to use. It's safe. It's easy to learn. And once they get comfortable with it, they really start to change their mindset and open up, which I think is it's exciting for us.
Absolutely. I think generally when you merge technology with something like an industry like construction, you have to change the language around it and talk about how it complements the human workforce rather than replace it, which I'm assuming was always the goal. There's lots of news about skilled labor shortages that have been recurring headlines. Do you think robotics will become a necessity to keep the industry afloat, or just like a competitive edge?
I think at some point it absolutely will become a necessity, and I think right now the exciting thing is it is absolutely a competitive edge. A lot of our customers, I think 5 years ago it was kind of maybe bleeding edge, kind of the people that were interested in new technology were really adopting. Now today, we've got a lot of contractors that are basically telling us, look, I've got older masons. We need this technology today to keep the business going, to keep the masons working, to keep everyone feeling good, and to reduce injuries. So, for us, we feel like it is starting to become pretty mainstream in how this type of technology is being utilized.
Yeah. What would you say to critics who believe robots might be taking work away from skilled tradespeople? Because I know there's a lot of fear around automation generally replacing jobs.
Yeah, there is, and I think that the thing that I would say, and I'm a big believer in, is that the technology is, it will change the dynamics of how job sites look. There's no question, right? You look at a farm, you look at a manufacturing facility, they are different than how they looked 100 years ago. Job sites will look different in the future, but at the same time, when you look at the young kids that are coming into the trade and the type of things that they want in their work life, the things that they want to do, they want more technology to interact with. They want the job to look a little bit differently, and so it's natural that it's going to evolve, and it's natural that it's going to change. It doesn't mean the jobs go away. It doesn't mean that there's going to be no construction work and robots are doing it all. That's not realistic. I think that what is realistic is that the education, the skill of the worker is going to change, and they might interact with more technology on a daily basis and lift heavy stuff on a daily basis. So, it may mean that the type of people in the trades, maybe there's more women in masonry, maybe there's more people that, I think are in the trades that that maybe come from a different background. So it will naturally create diversity, which to me is super healthy for the growth of the industry, and I think the evolution of what's going to happen.
Yeah, it's amazing to think of it as more of an expansive opportunity rather than a elitist one. I agree with you. I interviewed somebody recently who said AI, in that capacity, AI won't replace jobs, but it will replace people who don't know how to use AI. Right?
Yeah. I think that's it's definitely true. And so, I think it's part of, human evolution and our natural process to learn new technology, to figure out how we adapt with it, and utilize it to make our lives better, easier. Think about, a construction worker today that could produce a lot more from a, productivity standpoint. By using technology, they can produce more, they can feel better, they can go home feeling better, they can have more intellectual engagement throughout their day. And I think that it just changes the dynamic of what we expect for kind of the future workforce and what that looks
So
like.
blue sky, 10 years from now, in your mind, what does a high-tech job site look like?
Yeah, I mean, there's a whole lot of amazing technologies out there, but I think that it will start from the planning phase where we have much more in-depth, drawings and information on jobs, and we're leveraging AI to plan schedules, and we're, really understand kind of the dynamics ahead of time. We can really go into a job much more streamlined, almost like you'd see in a manufacturing plant today. And then when you get on the job, it's going to be a lot of smarter tools and smarter technologies, things like the MULE that are taking the lifting out of it. There's going to be robotic applications and installations. There's going to be autonomous telehandlers and bobcats. There's going to be things like that, assistive cranes and bulldozers, and just all of these devices in all this equipment will have assistive components to it. Some of it may be autonomous, but I would say what you'll most likely see is assistive in many, many ways, where instead of, it just makes that job just a little bit easier, a little bit smarter, a little bit more effective. And then the data that comes from all that, which is really going to be pretty cool to see, will feed back to project managers, project teams, so that they have full understandings of schedules and disruptions and how to handle those and how to mitigate those. And, AI will assist in all of that to make better decisions around manpower adjustments, shifts, schedule shifts and adjustments, so that the overall job site can be way more effective. So I think it naturally, there's some really exciting things coming into the industry, and I think it's going to be fun to watch it evolve.
Absolutely, and you hit on a really good point. A lot of companies don't know what to do with these massive amounts of data sets once they get them, and then what? And I see a lot of people using it for the betterment of workflows, for the betterment of efficiency, for the betterment of the workers, like from C-level down to boots on the ground. When you're not thinking about automation or brick patterns, how do you unplug? Like, do you build Lego castles? Do you avoid anything with bricks altogether?
No, I think for me, unplugging is probably, I've got 3 kids, and so time with the family. They're now 15, 12, and 10, and so it's playing with them. It's sports, going skiing in the winter, on the water in the summer. Sailing wakeboards and stuff like that. So try to get outdoors, spend some time with the kids. And we do fun projects. I'm a naturally an inventor at heart too, so I'm always kind of tinkering and playing with different technologies or different new applications. So those are the fun things for me.
Do you think it's your tinkering heart that led you on this career path?
Yeah, I definitely do. I'm the type of person that I think is always looking for a fun challenge, and for me, Nate, my co-founder, he's the construction guy who kind of came to me with the challenge, right? And I was the one who said, hey, that sounds really interesting, and sounds like a fun problem to solve. And so then, let's figure out a way to solve it.
And important,
Yeah.
Yeah.
And so that's I think been at the heart of what I do. And I think I've always been that way. I've invented a number of other products, and I've got another business, and so for me, that's kind of the fun piece.
Oh, great! More interviews. It's fantastic. Is there anything else that you would want our audiences to know, either about your trajectory or the trajectory of construction robotics?
Yeah, I think for us, some of the exciting things that are coming to fruition that that we have really tried to nurture and we see as kind of the next few years for us is applications beyond masonry. I mean, there's a lot of stuff we'll continue to do. We love the masonry industry. We'll support that industry. But for us, we're starting to see holes into other spaces. So smart lifting as a whole isn't exclusive to masonry, right? We can lift anything and make it weightless. We focused as a small company, focused in an industry to gain the traction. And that's kind of where we cut our teeth and started. But we're now starting to get into the solar industry, so lifting solar panels and helping to install them in fields and solar farms. And we have started to work with some other general contractors to look at other industries. Starting to get into SRW applications where we're doing retaining wall block. We've started to explore certain, glass handling applications, and even explored certain, other applications where you're lifting kind of materials, and we'll be able to expand the capacity of the MULE. We could probably eventually make up to about 1,000 pounds weightless. And so for us, it's looking at what else in the space of what we do on a construction job site on a daily basis is kind of either requires that precision of kind of that fine placement, or requires the speed of installation, where you're moving a lot of materials a day, and those are the applications where we'll continue to expand into. So we love partnering with companies around kind of new applications that can leverage our technology. So the pull for us is really important. With solar, we partnered with a general contractor, Barton Mallow out of Michigan, that kind of initially pioneered our efforts into solar, and so it was really a nice collaboration. They were doing some work in solar, knew of the MULE, and kind of helped us explore into that space. And so now it's starting to blossom for us. But we love those type of collaborations with companies that are out there looking to change an aspect of how they're doing a job site, and our MULE technology could impact that with not only the smart lifting, but even the cool thing about the MULE and what we're doing there is that there's moments of autonomy. So we can build in small little motions that are autonomous to help just make the job and the effort a little bit nicer. So for example, once it lays a block down and you hit the release button, it doesn't release it until all the weight's gone. It knows that, it slowly sets it down in the mortar so it doesn't splash out, gently releases it, and then it can automatically get up out of your way. So then you don't have to move it, you just kind of do your thing. And so as we start to build these layers of these moments of autonomy just to make the job just a little bit more seamless, a little bit easier, and we start to look at other applications within the industry, that's where those type of partnerships, with different trades or different general contractors, we look forward to those type of collaborations. So there's a lot of exciting stuff coming in that regard, and we love to hear from companies in the space that are looking for a new solution.
Wow. Scott Peters, saving bodies, minds, and timelines. I like it. Well, thank you so much for taking the time to talk to me. I'll just do a bumper at the end, because I don't know if it caught it in the beginning. I'm Alexis Nichols, staff writer for Under the Hard Hat, and I'm here with Scott Peters, president of Construction Robotics.